Well, Western nations have condemned Moscow's decision on Crimea right away, calling it a land grab. Washington, as well as major EU powerhouses, Germany and France, said they refuse to accept the move. Let's go live now to RT's Polly Boyko for this and more. So, Polly, what's been said? Do bring us more.
Well, the tough rhetoric is coming in thick and fast. The European powerhouses have been pretty unequivocal in denouncing and rejecting the referendum in Crimea, as well as the incorporation of Crimea into Russia. The UK Prime Minister David Cameron has said that there will be serious consequences. The US Vice President Joe Biden has demanded harsher sanctions against Russia in response to the latest developments. And William Hague, who's just been speaking from Parliament here in Westminster, has said that this will further isolate Russia. He's announced that Britain has ceased military cooperation with Russia. He's also suggested that the G7 nations from now on will be meeting as a group of G7 without Russia included. Now, the response, of course, in recent days and weeks was to be expected. We can take a listen to US and EU leaders warning Russia about the consequences if it continues to support the referendum in Crimea.
Unfortunately, Russia's leaders have responded with a brazen military incursion.
There will be additional and far-reaching consequences.
I have signed a new executive order that expands the scope of our sanctions.
Restrictive measures against 21 individuals.
It is possible to add other figures in the future.
We don't say that as a threat. We say that as a direct consequence of the choices that Russia may or may not choose to make here.
Now, in terms of the response to the sanctions that we have now, the response from within Europe has been quite split. Yes, there are those calling for tougher measures, but at the same time, from within the EU, there are those who are wary of imposing tougher trade sanctions against Russia. They say that, yes, they would be detrimental to Russia, but taking into consideration the economic situation in Europe at the moment, they could be very detrimental to the EU as well. Now, in terms of the political response, it's not just limited to the US and the EU. Yes, we've just had a plethora of indignant comments streaming from the US and the EU, and I'm sure there's going to be more to come. But there are other political responses to what's happened across the international community. We can take a listen to other voices in the international community responding to the right of the Crimean people to decide their future.
It's impossible to continue playing the role of guarantor of global security when the approach depends on which country you are dealing with. In the case of Crimea, it turns out the referendum is a bad thing. But when the Falkland Islands want self-determination, it's a good. This doesn't stand up to analysis.
All right, Polly, thank you so much for this update. Polly Boyko there.